Hello all, it's James Johnson, aka Sulfur Blade, and welcome back to my channel. I want to touch on this actual Fox report because, unlike mainstream media, Fox is occasionally goes down the rabbit hole on some segments of their programming, and here we are with one of them. I think that this particular topic, the coronavirus topic, is most certainly where our good president is most vulnerable. And the reason I say that is because I believe Americans in general are particularly worried about issues that revolve around safety and their health. So while most Americans definitely agree that Trump is the far better law and order candidate and he's more likely to keep you safe from rioters than Joe Biden is, for some reason there seems to be this image that Trump is failing to combat the coronavirus, or he's somehow Joe Biden would do better. Now, this is certainly a narrative that I think gets pushed by people that look smart. And what I mean by people that look smart are people that everybody trusts. Everybody trusts a doctor. Doctors are, they're the... If you can't trust a doctor, who can you trust, right? Certainly doctors aren't political. They don't have political motivation. So when you tune in to Fox, who's, tends to be a little bit more flexible on their views, they will go left from time to time, and they will go right from time to time. Well, they'll go right quite often on their more flagship programming, like Tucker or Hannity. But when you watch something like this, with a nondescript Fox person that you don't usually see all the time, I don't even know who this lady is, you're likely to get something resembling anything, really. So let's go ahead and watch this, and I want to tear apart some of this as if it were mainstream media, because it certainly is in that same category.
New research may tell us why Houston is seeing such a high spike in coronavirus cases, with Houston's Texas Medical Center reportedly at 105% capacity.
Houston's Texas Medical Center is at 105% capacity, according to this reporter right now. So let's go ahead and what is Houston's Texas Medical Center? Well, here we are. Texas Medical Center, the largest medical city in the world. It is at the forefront of advancing life science, home to the brightest minds in medicine. TMC nurtures cross-institutional collaboration, creativity, and innovation because together we can push the limits of what's possible. Total patient beds, 9,200. So if they are at 105% capacity, that means that they have more than 9,200 coronavirus cases in their hospital. Well, yes, sort of, right? Obviously, there's other reasons people go to a hospital. Some people need to give birth. Some people need to have the bottle pulled out of their butt that somebody inadvisedly shoved up it. I mean, there's all kinds of bizarre reasons that people go to a hospital, but the coronavirus is amongst them. Anyway, we've got 9,200 beds there. Now let's take a look at a different stat, shall we? Which one of these would it be? Probably this one. Yes, this one. All right, Harris County, which is where Houston is. Harris County, in the last 2 weeks, have had 11,070. Okay, on average, they're having 1,175 cases a day. Over the course of 2 weeks, it's 14 days. 14 times 1,000 could be 14,000. So certainly, there's a good chance that there are quite a few people in this hospital. Now, Houston's a big city, right? I'm sure that they have other hospitals. I mean, Houston's a really big city. How many hospitals are in Houston? Hey, Google. How many hospitals in Houston? There are more than 85 hospitals in the Houston area with more than 19,300 beds, including those in TMC. All right, so now we have a little more information to the pie. Now, what the likelihood is when they're saying they're at 105% capacity, they're saying they're at 105% capacity based off of a normal everyday operating procedure. Not like you're New York City and you're facing the blunt of the pandemic and you're doing everything you can to take care of the coronavirus. I have this feeling in my gut that when this reporter says they're at 105% capacity, that is 105 capacity of the beds that have been divvied off for coronavirus, and there's still plenty of beds available in the hospital. That's just my gut feeling based off of the numbers shown, again, here in Houston at Harris County. Let's continue on in this video.
Researchers at Baylor College of Medicine say a strain of the virus in that area has mutated and has become even more contagious than what we have seen so far. Joining me now, Dr. Cedric Dark, emergency.
Now remember that phrase. Researchers at Baylor University say that a strain has become more deadly. Now, they're going to talk about this strain a little bit later. I just wanted to hang a lantern on that particular statement for later in the video.
Medicine physician and assistant professor at Houston's Baylor College of Medicine. He is also the founder of Policy Prescriptions and a board member of Doctors for America. Doctor, thank you so much.
He's a board member of Doctors for America. Wow, that sounds important. What the heck is Doctors for America? Anyone have any idea? I wanted to know what Doctors for America was for. Let's click on Doctors for America's issues, and we come up with this wonderful list of things that Doctors for America are definitely concerned about. Doctors for America seem to be concerned about climate change, because climate change is certainly something that involves a doctor, or gun violence prevention, or National Bureau for Gun Safety, drug affordability, substance use. So this makes sense for a doctor, right? And so does this one. Flint water crisis? Okay, maybe. That's kind of stretching it a little bit, but I suppose water crisis could be. But the Affordable Care Act? But climate change, really, climate change. What the hell do doctors have to do with climate change? other than climate change is, quote unquote, a political tool used to push specific political ideologies. So what can be said about Doctors for America? They are all about being political. So we have a doctor on TV who is part of the board of Doctors for America, a group that is highly politically charged, according to their own website.
Much for being here with us today. We have been following a number of states that have seen the spike in cases along the Sun Belt. If you could just give us some insight to start the conversation about what you're seeing there in Texas and more specifically in Houston.
Well, yesterday was Texas's deadliest day of this pandemic. Over 100 people died.
So, Democrats know that the coronavirus is kind of like the kryptonite for Donald Trump. It's the only issue they've really been able to push that any modicum of reasonable Americans will agree with them on. And that's because most Americans are very, again, concerned about their health. And when doctors speak, they listen, like this doctor. However, if you're watching my video, hopefully you're understanding that even a doctor like Dr. Cedric Dark here can certainly be influenced by politics and can certainly spin a tune to make a certain topic sound a certain way from a certain point of view. And that's what he's going to do. And he's going to do it very masterfully. He's already said that Texas has had its most deadly day with, 100 people died?
It was Texas's deadliest day of this pandemic. Over 100 people died.
For 100 people died. That sounds pretty bad. Scary. Democrats like to scare people. When they're scared, they're easy to trick, or they're easy to push into following their narrative. Now, we know that New York had it bad, right? What was New York's deadliest day?
This morning, New York State reeling from its deadliest day in the pandemic. Nearly 800 fatalities in just 24 hours.
Right, New York's deadliest day, 800 fatalities from coronavirus. Texas's deadliest day, 100 fatalities from coronavirus. It's a bit of a difference by a factor of 8. That's not to say that what's happening in Texas is not concerning. It certainly is. But let's not try to make it scarier than it needs to be. But of course, that's the point of this particular episode, is to reinforce the fear of coronavirus.
And I've seen reports that refrigerated trucks are coming to Texas to be able to handle bodies because there are not enough spaces in the morgues. This is something that I experienced one other time back when I was in medical school, 2001, during 9/11. I actually went to medical school in New York, and from my 14th floor, I could see down onto the office of the chief medical examiner, and I could see rows of refrigerated trucks, a white tarp that carried the bodies of the people that were killed in the collapse of the
So he has just compared Texas with its single-day high of 105 deaths spread across a very large state, some in Dallas, some in Houston, some in San Antonio, some in El Paso, all over the place, right? But yet, there's this huge number of refrigerated trucks coming from the corpses. As if, in his words, as if it was similar to here we are, to the World Trade Center and what happened in New York when 2,763 people were killed pretty much instantaneously. It's a little bit of a discrepancy, 2,763 people to 105 people. But, you know, he might have seen a similar vehicle, like a refrigerated truck pulled up, and he thought it would be an interesting story to tell on TV. It reminded him of the couple of hundred refrigerated trucks that pulled up over at the World Trade Center. I mean, it certainly can't be the same number of refrigerated trucks. I highly doubt it. That's if it actually happened at all.
Twin Towers. But just to put it in perspective, more people have died in Texas from COVID than those who died during the 9/11 attacks.
More people have died in Texas than died in the 9/11 attacks. Let's see if we can let's do a quick fact check on that too. We know already from this one. We got 2,763 poor souls that died in New York. What we got? They hit the Pentagon, right? I don't think the Pentagon had a huge. Oh, the plane that went down near. That didn't. I think it was trying to hit the Pentagon, right? How many people died on the plane that was supposed to hit the Capitol on 9/11? $44, including the hijackers. Okay. So I think we're going to find that his statement is probably right. But it's certainly designed for shock and awe value, right? So what is this total number? 44. So about 2,800 people or so, probably a couple more than that. But 2,800 is far too many Americans that should have lost their lives. Now let's look at, which one was it? This one. We'll scroll on down. Some interesting numbers here. Okay, Texas. Deaths in Texas have been 3,206. I think that it's important to put it in perspective compared to its peers. Let's compare it to New York, where 32,000 died, or compare it to New Jersey, where 15,500 died, or Massachusetts, where 8,310 died. So remember, coronavirus hit us, and it hit us hard. And most of these deaths in New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, because that's kind of the confined area there, right? Was fast, sudden, and pretty devastating. Here we are many months later, testing lots of more people, finding tons and tons more cases. And we're talking about Texas as if it's like the new grand epicenter, as if it's a new New York. And it's just not. This number is very different than these other numbers. But let's continue on.
And it's something particularly scary because we're hardly close to the end of this at all. And now we're seeing this new research. So this is the Los Alamos National Laboratory. They've discovered a mutation of the virus that facilitates its spread. Joseph Petrosino, who's the chair of molecular virology and microbiology at Baylor College of Medicine, he said that the one we have in the U.S. spreads better than the original that originally emerged in China. So what does...
Yep, they discovered this new research. It's like it just happened, right? If you watch this news, you'd be scared. You'd be like, "Oh shit, the virus mutated. We're really fucked now." So let's go ahead and look at this. Here it is. Los Alamos reporter, LNAL, newer variant of COVID-19 causing virus dominates global infection. So there is this variant D614 in the orange, and this variant G614, which is what they're talking about now, the more infectious strain of the coronavirus. But hey, look at this. We knew about the strain as far back as January 25th. What do you mean, January 25th? That's when all of this began. Wait, I thought this was some new, brand new strain that we've never before heard about. Like it's this new thing, but it's not. It's there's been two strains. The blue is more infectious than the orange strain, but it's not a new thing, right? Now let's go ahead and read some of this. Virus is with D614G, change in spike outcompetes original strain, but may not make patient sicker. I think that's the important thing we need to take away here. May not make patient sicker. So Korber noted, these findings suggest that the newer form of the virus may be even more readily transmuted than the original form. Whether or not that conclusion is ultimately confirmed, it highlights the value of what were already good ideas to wear masks and maintain social distancing. Where was it? Basically, they all pretty much agree that the strain is no more deadly than the other strain. It's just more virulent. And the way that they're determining that virulence is... Here we are. Two independent lines of experimental evidence that support these initial results are included in today's paper. These additional experiments, led by Professor Erica Ullman Sapphire, PhD, at the La Jolla Institute, and by Dr. David Montefiore, PhD, at Duke University, show that D614G change increases the virus infectivity in the laboratory. These new experiments, as well as more extensive sequences and clinical data and improved statistical models, are present in the Cell paper. More in vivo remains to be done to determine the full impact of the change. So it's more virulent in the laboratory, according to that particular thing here, but we could assume that that probably means it'll be more easier to catch out in the real world. We can make that assumption. We should make that assumption for safety purposes. So this strain that's been around for quite a while now is now being reported as some new highly mutated strain that we've just discovered several months ago. But if we say it in the news now, we could scare people. And again, that's the point of these things, is they want to scare you into submission.
What does this mean for Houston, for the Houston area, potentially for the country?
Well, it just means it's so much easier for the disease to spread and for more people to get infected. And what that really means is that people need to take this seriously. We need to
take it
really
seriously.
Make sure that everybody's masking up when they're out in public.
Be sure to follow those mask orders.
People that aren't in their homes, because if we don't, we're going to lose control of the virus. And you see what's already.
We've lost control of the virus, man.
We had a pretty good grip on it earlier on in the pandemic in April and going into May until we reopened our.
So that's the other thing here, is they keep talking about losing control of the virus, like we've ever had any control on the virus, especially with the rioting and the looting and the craziness happening over the country. There's no control on this virus. This virus is everywhere. It's long gone. It's everywhere. Unless you live in the middle of bumfuck nowhere in Montana or up in northern Wisconsin, which is actually where I'm from, where my family is. So thankfully, they don't have to worry too much about this nonsense. There's sparsely populated areas of this country where it really hasn't gotten to. And then, of course, there's always metropolitan areas of the country. And we can kind of recognize where metropolitan areas are, right? You got Milwaukee and Chicago over here, though one would think this is Milwaukee here. And they're trending upwards, but the real cases evidently seem to be in the Oshkosh and Sheboygan area of Wisconsin, and then over here in Marquette County, which would be Wausau, and down here would be what, Eau Claire? Yeah, Sauk County. So, and of course, these are the biggest cities in Wisconsin, with the exception of Milwaukee, which is the largest city in Wisconsin. But again, big cities, red. Tulsa is somewhere around here. It's the second biggest place in Oklahoma. It's red. Houston is actually yellow, which means its cases aren't really going up. But there are plenty of areas in Texas that are going up. For whatever reason. And why in this area, I'm not sure. I would assume it probably has something to do with the riots. I have a feeling that suburbanites might have gone into the cities here, Dallas and Houston, did their rioting, and then went back home and brought it into these areas, and that's why you're seeing these boosts. Tennessee, I think the same thing is happening in Tennessee. You've got these crazy riots that are going on in the Nashville area, and they're probably taking it back home with them. Georgia, Atlanta, again, crazy riots around Atlanta, Georgia, and again we see a lot of red spots. But most red spots are usually near metropolises. So we've got San Francisco over here, and then we have this red spot here. Los Angeles and San Diego are big metropolitans, and we see a rather, we see orange. Orange is still bad, I think. According to this, orange is still rising. Yeah, it's the first level of rising. So you don't really want to see orange. You'd rather see the blue on the map, right? Like New Jersey, everything is falling in New Jersey. New Jersey is the place to be if you're, or Mississippi has a lot of falling cases, evidently. But it is unique that the redder spots are somewhere near places that have had large numbers of riots recently. And then there's Chicago. I just don't know, what's up with Chicago. Are they just so messed up they're failing to accurately report their cases? That could be. I mean, some of these places are just so foobarred that they Let's continue on with the
economy at a breakneck pace. Once we did that, cases started going up dramatically, increasing over the past 2 to 3 weeks, almost at an exponential rate. And so now we're
gotta hit home that whole reopening. That was bad. Well, we need to stay locked up in our houses forever. No, it's not that simple. You can't boil down everything in the world to good and bad, yes and no, wrong and right. Democrats would like you all to believe it is that simple. That it's as clear-cut as yes and no, stay home, don't stay home. Vote for us, don't vote for us. You know, with the Democrats, it's very black and white. But the actual reality in life is there's lots of shades of gray. And you have to reopen the economy. And there, again, he's trying to paint this picture from his point of view that reopening was bad. And I strongly disagree. He said, we reopened at breakneck speeds. No, we haven't reopened fast enough. We just need to fully open up this country already, because this is the real point of the problem. I've done a different video on this, just breaking down the math of ways that you can die in any given year. And there's so many other ways that you can die, that you're more likely to die from on any given year, from a car accident to being bit by a mosquito to drowning, than getting coronavirus. Are you going to stop driving? No. Are you going to stop getting bit by mosquitoes? Boy, wouldn't that be wonderful. Granted, the mosquito thing is certainly not something that we have to deal with as much here in the United States, thanks to our wonderful medical system. But in the African continent, where malaria is a serious issue, well, that mosquito bite can be very deadly in Africa. And so when mosquitoes are responsible for an astronomical number of deaths a year, it's the mosquito is the number one killer of human beings in the animal world. Mosquitoes kill more people than car accidents. And that's pretty much because of the malaria problem in Africa. But yeah, again, car accidents, are we going to stop driving? No, we're not. Of course, the drowning stats were from the entire world. 320,000 a year drowned across the entirety of the world. And, you know, we've lost 120 to 150,000 at this point to coronavirus here in the United States. So again, this is a number that applies to our country specifically compared to a worldwide number. But still, you get the point. If you're looking at coronavirus from a world perspective, you know, you're more likely to drown than to catch coronavirus in the United States. Anyway, let's go, or well, not to catch. No, that was a very bad thing for me to say. To die from coronavirus. This is the real important point of this conversation, is that the mortality of coronavirus is nothing like it was originally made out to be. They made this thing out to be like the plague, like the Spanish flu, like it was going to wipe out a quarter of the Earth's population. And that's just so far from the reality of what we've seen. It's not even close. It isn't even remotely close.
Trying to get a handle on it again, to the point where the governor had to reissue a mask order. But in that interim, there was a period of about 67 days where the governor prohibited people in Houston from issuing our own mask order until he was forced to do it himself for the entire state.
Your thoughts on the suggestion that there should be a nationwide mask mandate versus this being done state by state?
Certainly, there should never be a nationwide mask mandate. There should be no mask mandates. Masks should be up to the human being, the individual. The country should be giving us the facts and letting us do with the facts what need to be done. And we need to stop with the whole mass shaming and the stupidity, because it's a civil liberty thing, most definitely. If we're being forced into wearing a mask to curb the spread of something that is less likely to kill me over the course of the year than driving, it doesn't make sense to me. Why is this issue of enough importance to infringe on my civil liberties? You know, if human safety is of this serious of an import, which I'm not to say that human safety is not important. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is, if this is such a big deal, then they should outlaw driving in the entirety of the world. Because obviously, cars kill people to a far greater extent than this virus does. But yet I have to wear a mask because of this virus? But I can drive my car? It doesn't make sense.
I mean, I think that healthcare is best delivered very, very locally. And so, what we should be doing is trying to have decisions made by local politicians at all costs if we can. I think it's a mistake for someone to come in and overrule what the local politicians want to do if that means they want to mask. And, if it becomes necessary, as it became necessary in Texas for the sake of public health, yes, then we need a mask order. Whether or not we need one nationally, I think at this point it should be a state-by-state decision.
But do they need a mask order in Texas? Do they really need a mask order in Texas?
It gets to the point where it's overwhelming the entire country, then I would call on the president to make that order as well.
Let's go back to looking at this mask order in Texas. Over half of Texas is pretty much entirely white, where they don't even have cases. Granted, there is this spot here and a very big hot spot here, but telling the entirety of Texas they have to wear a mask seems a bit totalitarian to me. And even in this area, they're telling people they have to wear a mask. I still feel it's totalitarian. Because again, like I said, while this thing is infectious, and while people are more than likely going to get this, are they going to die from it? Now that likelihood that the people that contract this here in this area are going to die from it goes down dramatically. And is that number of deaths worth infringing on civil liberties? I don't think so.
Houston, among other cities in the South, in Arizona, some in Florida, have been described as hot spots. How do you climb out of that? What is the...
Houston, hot spot. Wrong one. Houston, light yellow, about the same. Houston's not a hot spot. Now, there's a hotspot near Houston, and that could be what they're trying to convey here. And it could be an accident that they've said Houston in specific is a hotspot.
The strategy. What do the people need to do? What do the providers need to do? And also the government, the politicians that are speaking and working to inform the people.
I think we need consistent leadership all the way from the top down. And as I said before, and I'll reiterate now, masking, social distancing, and taking this coronavirus seriously is what we definitely need to do. One of the other things that we have to realize is that our treatments in the medical field are fairly limited, right? We have oxygen that we can give to patients. We have antiviral.
Our treatments in the medical field are fairly limited. Why are they Why are they saying this in this manner? Because it directly goes in the face of what Trump likes to tell us. Trump likes to talk about we have good, how does he put it? Maybe I wonder if I could find one of his videos where he talks about it. Anyway, I think you know what I'm talking. I think you guys, if you've seen Trump talk, not watched CNN spin his words out of context, but have actually seen himself give his own speech, then you will have likely have seen the part where he talks about the things that they're doing for coronavirus, and that they have a bunch of new medications and new ways of dealing with coronavirus. But here we have a doctor going out of his way to say that the treatments we have for coronavirus are limited. And you know he is saying that purposely to contrast with what Trump likes to tout when he's on the camera talking about this topic.
Remdesivir that we can give to people to shorten their hospital stays. Dexamethasone is showing to be a promising treatment for people that have damage to their lungs. But when it comes to the simple intervention, something as easy as oxygen, you have to think about how much does that cost for someone to actually take care of that at home. You know, I was looking up how much is an oxygen concentrator. It's somewhere on the order of hundreds.
What is... This is like apples and oranges, right? He talked about two of the new treatments, and then he stopped talking about the treatments. And now he's shifted into this expensive oxygen false narrative, where we know from other videos where we've watched about the whole should you incubate or shouldn't you incubate coronavirus, that there is a highly charged debate in the medical community on what coronavirus patients need to be given oxygen, and that the majority of coronavirus patients don't need oxygen at all. It's only the most extreme cases. And so why he's talking about getting oxygen at home, it's kind of like a what? If I'm at home, I probably don't have an extreme case now, do I? What do I need oxygen at home for?
Hundreds to maybe $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 for that machine. What do you do in Texas, where you have 18% of our population uninsured? How are we going to make sure that people that need such a simple therapy actually have access to it? And so what I would say right now is we have a moral...
Boy, the people who are uninsured, how are they going to get coronavirus treatment? Well, gee, I'm quite sure that our Congress, in a bipartisan way, passed a very specific legislation to guarantee everyone in the entirety of the United States, regardless of their insurance statistic, has access to coronavirus treatment. In a bipartisan vote. But we need to talk about the number of uninsured people in Texas. This is a false narrative again. It's fake. It's fake. This specific part of this video right now, where he's saying that this 15% can't get treatment, is bullshit. They can.
Imperative to one another to address things like the social determinants of health, things like uninsurance, so that people that are infected, people that are sick, can get the care that they need.
So what he's doing right now is he's pushing this, right? They're key issues. He's playing politics.
So that they can recover and return to being functional members of society.
Absolutely, Dr. Cedric Dark, a very important point made there at the end of the conversation. Appreciate your insight. Thanks for joining us.
Chlorella is absolute.
All right, so this video has turned into quite the marathon of me dissecting a video that really wasn't actually that long. It was, what, a 5-minute and 42-second video that I just dissected? And it's definitely taken me more than 5 minutes to do so. But hopefully this gives you an idea of just how things can get spun to make a political point or turn any little thing, like in, for instance, this is coronavirus. This is a big thing, right? This is a medical thing that concerns everyone, and everyone's concerned about their health. And if they watch this episode, they're going to be freaking out because they're going to be thinking, oh my God, there's a brand new, highly contagious strain. No, it's not brand new. It's been around for months. In fact, it's been around since the beginning of this entire thing back in January. They're just calling it new today to scare you. Is it more infectious? This new dominant strain that has superseded the older, weaker strain? Yes, it's more infectious, but it's not any. It doesn't kill you. It's not more likely to kill you, right? It's got the same low mortality rate as the old strain. Contrary to what the news would have you think, that there's these fires going on around the country. If you remember, Trump said that there would be fires, and there would be embers, and they would have to put out the embers. This would be something that would happen, and that's what we're seeing. This is not New York City all over again, but it's trying to be painted as that. And why are they trying to paint that? Because they want to scare you. They want to make you think Trump's doing a bad job. They want you to vote Democrat. It's really as simple as that. Anyway, I'm James Johnson, aka Self-Replayed. This is my content. Hopefully you're enjoying it. If so, please leave a like and subscribe. And until the next time, all, peace.